He's Mr. Sundar Balasubramanian. Mr. Sundar Balasubramanian is the Chief Marketing Officer at Myntra, an app that I often use for my shopping preferences, and I'm pretty sure half of you also use that, and it's your go-to app for shopping. Just a brief introduction about Sir. Sir has been a digital marketing and e-commerce expert for over 20 years. As a chief marketing officer at Myntra, he has significantly shaped the platform's marketing strategies, elevating consumer engagement and making Myntra a go-to destination for Gen Z shoppers. His strategic contributions have fueled Myntra's growth, solidifying its position as a leader in the fashion e-commerce space. Before Myntra, Sir also led international marketing for Coupang, that is a major South Korean e-commerce company. His previous roles include senior leadership position at Disney Plus Hotstar and Colgate Power India, where he successfully managed brand marketing, user acquisition, content marketing, and planning responsibilities. An alumnus of Indian School of Business, Sir is also passionate about the intersection of technology and consumer behavior. With personal interest in fashion and technology, Sir is going to bring some professional insights to this forum. So give a warm welcome to Sir as he talks about the Myntra Playbook and how fashion shopping can be reimagined in a Gen Z world.
Thank you so much. Can I get a clicker? Okay, good afternoon, folks. Just for me, before I begin the presentation, to get a sense of audience, put your hands up. How many students? Excellent. Reverse question, any non-students? Few of you. Just shout out what you guys do so I have a reference point. All right. Okay. Someone there? Okay, got it. Perfect. Super. How many of you are Gen Z? Wow. Okay, this is so strange and surreal. This is Gen Z hearing a presentation about Gen Z. Wow, it doesn't get weirder than that. Cool. So what am I going to chat about today? And I was talking to some folks there, and they said we've done marketing courses, and we've done everything from 5P, 5C, 4, whatever else. Want to clarify, my presentation is going to have none of those, right? What I'm going to chat about, my presentation is in 3 phases roughly. One is, as brands, as companies, not too many people would focus on Gen Z marketing, right? It's odd, but they don't, for many, many reasons, as you'll see. We are one of those that chooses to, and I'll explain to you why and what are the myths behind Gen Z itself. So that's first part of the section. Second one is, when you keep customer at the center of everything you do, it starts with getting insights about what Gen Z care about. So some of our learnings on that front is the second section. And the third section is how we've actually executed it so far. It's obviously a journey, but I'm going to talk about at least what we've done so far. So the first one, where am I supposed to point this? Wherever I do, not working. It's working? Super. Thank you. Cool. So yeah, Gen Z myth busting is the first section. What it's going to talk about is common refrains that you will hear. And having done a lot of industry sessions, I can tell you this is the kind of stuff that you hear all across. Given the audience is Gen Z, you'll wonder why, but this is where a lot of the industry is. First is to say this sentence, right? From a business organization perspective, they're just students. Can they even afford much? But the reality is that unlike students of the past, potentially, 70% of Gen Z today have either a side hustle going on or a full-time job going on in parallel to everything else that they're doing, right? And that's what many brands, organizations fail to understand till they say that till this cohort has their own spending money, why should I waste my time going after them? But you got to understand this cohort already has lots of money. Second one is the most famous one, which is this gang has super low attention span, and anything you do, they're not going to think about you. Again, the data disagrees. The data says that Gen Z have a 15% higher watch time on movies and a much higher watch time on anything creator, right? Again, if you make something that is interesting and engaging, the audience will consume it, right? If you don't and you're making content for millennials, yes, they will have low attention span for you, right? So that's the second piece. Third is just will they be consistently customers, right? And that comes up again. It's a function of that same student thing, and you will see that play out multiple times. But again, the data: 40% of registered users on the national stock exchange is Gen Z, right? You are not going to have people do that if they are not serious about wanting to make money and therefore be able to spend money. They only impulse works for them, which is the other common refrain. Data: 67% of them look at online customer reviews and do a lot more research than anyone else prior before making a purchase, right? When you do social media posts, they will scroll to see what people below the post say. When they see something on Instagram which they like and they click on it, they will first go through the reviews of past customers behind. And that is at a level much higher than what millennials or anyone else before them did. So no, they are not impulse. They actually do their own research. They may not Google search it as much, but they figure out their own way of doing the same. Huge population, everyone understands. Last I checked, there were about 230 million urban Gen Z in India. So size sounds huge, but for everyone it is. But does it make sense from a revenue perspective? Again, data: 25% of e-commerce GMV is gross merchandise value, comes out of Gen Z. This is for everything that is called lifestyle e-com, right? And not only is it about 25% of them being customers, they also influence 85% of a family, a household's GMV. Why? Because as it's called, they are the CDOs, which is the chief decision officers in that family, right? They have a lot more information than anyone else does in that household, uh, especially when it comes to anything technology. They are probably going to be able to slice and dice it more than anyone else in that household. So they influence purchases in a huge way, which is really why the fact and reality is Gen Z is a big, big business, and more so for everyone and definitely for us. This is a study done by Bain very recently on everything e-com and lifestyle e-com. Let me explain some of the jargon there. 60 million Gen Z AAC is annual active customers. So 60 million customers. And of course, non-Gen Z are 115 million, right? Sure, they are bigger, but 60 million in India paying customers is huge. The interesting part is Gen Z transact more than non-Gen Z. Gen Z on an average transact 8 to 9 times a year versus non-Gen Z who transact 5 to 6 times a year. It is a little different. Because of where they are, the stage of life they are, they will spend less every time when they are doing it, which is $7 to $8 versus the $13 to $15. And that's kind of how it piggybacks on. But the reality is 25% of lifestyle revenue today in the country comes out of Gen Z. So it is a big, big business, and any brand, company, organization not looking at Gen Z and having a strategy focused on Gen Z are not going to have too much of a future. For us, from a Myntra perspective and fashion perspective, it's amazing because not only are there Gen Z, which is huge in number, all of them are on social media. And the beauty of it is on social media in this country, if you take Instagram, which is probably the one which has 600 million monthly active users, so the biggest by far, fashion is the number one thing that users search for from a topic perspective. So it's it just works beautifully for a brand like Myntra. So having said that, so that's the background to why Gen Z is important for Myntra. Where it always goes back to is what's important for Gen Z, right? So there's a lot of customer insights, know your customer, different programs that we keep running within the org to understand what works for this cohort. Because multiple times that when we've done stuff, we've realized that it is millennials like us trying to think what Gen Z want, and they call it out every time saying, yeah, you've tried to make it cool because you think that's what Gen Z are like, and Gen Z are not like that, right? So it's a learning process for us that's amazing. But some insights that we've got so far in terms of just drivers that are important from a fashion brand perspective. One is the first one is it for me from a personalization perspective? I don't want what everyone else is getting. What are you getting for me? What are you bringing to the table that is singularly talking to me, either at a brand level, feature level, value level, and how is it personalized to me? So personalization is super important for them. Second is it on trend? This is a cohort which is amazingly aware of everything that's happening globally real time. Of course, a lot of it thanks to social media and influencers. And because of that, is it on trend? And if you are not giving them things that are on trend, it will get relegated. Third is, can we co-create? Again, in India, for most brands, it is we brand giving you. For them, it's important to build a brand relationship, not just out of are you giving me quality, durability, and other such things, but are you co-creating along with us? Fourth one, again, very important for this cohort is a sense of inclusivity at mass, right? Are you a brand that makes sure that not just me, but everyone around me is also taken care of or factored in? That's important. Fifth one is show me is more just the fact that everyone's more visual, right? Visual and video are two very important parts of how communication needs to happen to Gen Z. So that was very important. Where's the value? Very simple. Anyone in India, right, will look for value. Even if your name is Ambani, you will look for value. We are just tuned to that, right? But so as does Gen Z from that perspective. Second perspective, from a stage of life perspective, even more important, given that I will have at best a discretionary $1,000 to spend. So are you making it worth my while? And what are those trade-offs for value? Value is not low price. Value is what am I getting out of that every rupee that I'm spending with you, right? That's super important. The other one, which is a bit of a few questions that I got outside, is sustainability. More than any other cohort, this cohort thinks about anything long term, anything planet, anything natural. And that part of it is amazing. How much of it works from a business perspective is still up for grabs, but it's an important driver for them. And the last one is community. Are people around also participating in your brand? Only then will I also step in, right? So these are few of the top drivers that we kind of identified from Gen Z over the last couple of years to understand this. And we kind of put things into action basis that. So I'll take you through a few of the things that we kind of put out over there, which is what I'm calling the Gen Z playbook for Myntra. First is the app experience itself, right? We spoke about personalization. We spoke about being visual. In the end of the day, when they open the Myntra app, they're going to think, this is the regular Myntra app. What's in it for me, right? Lot of debate internally for us was about, do we need another app for Gen Z or not, right? And we made choices. But yeah, this is within the choice. It was about how do you call out. So we created Forward, which is the store for everything Gen Z. And we made sure that anyone who's Gen Z, ideally, when they fire up the Myntra app, should go only into Forward, right? That's the level of personalization we want to reach. We are not there yet, getting there. So as you fire up the app, it's a distinct store that comes up. If you're within the app, in the bottom nav, it comes up. Just providing ability to ensure that if you're Gen Z, get to forward, because that's a separate section. Within forward, everything is a lot more visual and video led. We have, like you have Insta Reels, and around the world, you will have TikTok. We have something called minis, which are videos from influencers or otherwise, which are all between anywhere between 15 to 30 seconds, that talk about trends, that talk about discovery, that talks about education, that talks about inspiration, right? Those are the few vectors that people are interested in as they're browsing a fashion app. So we take them through all these, right? Both long form, short form kind of content. We have about 50,000 pieces of this content that we've kind of gone live with, and we're adding more by the day. This is an important distinction for us as we look at everything Gen Z. We're also making our catalog, which is as you're browsing and finding what kind of shirt, top, etc., that you want to find. On the left hand side is the regular catalog that would exist on Myntra. What we are trying to do for forward is make it more relevant. One of the options is, as you can see, something that all of us would see on Instagram when you go travel and you put up a picture that looks like that. So trying to make it a little bit more Instagram worthy. Again, as I said, it's work in progress. When we showed this to few folks, they were like, yes, but nothing on Instagram looks that perfect. Stop trying to overproduce it so much, make it look more real, right? So a little more learning that we get out of doing these things, but that's the journey that we are on how are we customizing everything that we have to this cohort. And the last one is really use tech enablers to make this deeper and personalized. And here are three that I'm talking about. First is a AI fashion assistant called Maya. She's basically, it is WhatsApp on our app, so to speak. You come in, you're buying, you want to figure out what you want, you can chat with her and she will help you the same way as when you walk into a store and someone says, what would you like to buy today, ma'am, sir, etc. Right? So that's the first one, which is Maya. Second one is just the way search is and how are you reimagining that. There was search of the past, and then when everything Gen AI came in, there is search, which is very, very different today. So we have My Fashion GPT, which is much more conversational form of search. So it is not about denim, jeans, ethnic wear, etc. It is about, I have a wedding in Jaipur and I want to wear something blingy. And that's what My Fashion GPT will answer for you. And then the third tech feature is what we've called the AI stylist, because it's not about that one top you're buying or the trouser you're buying or the skirt that you're buying. It is about the look that you care about. So what it will do is, as you're looking and buying that one top, it will suggest the complete look for you, because in the end of the day, that's the benefit that you're looking for. So these are the first part of it, which is how do you kind of get personalization going across the app experience itself. The second part of it is building trend first selection, because in the end of the day, they want what is trending and trending globally, right? So the way we do it is we have over 2000 weekly drops of new things as trends change, right? And that is, it seems like an easy number to put up in a slide, but you've got to realize that in a traditional fashion world, finding a trend and then getting everything from textile, knits, buttons, stitching it, putting it out, sending it to warehouses, getting it is normally a 90-day lead time, right? That does not obviously work when you're talking about things changing on a weekly basis, right? So a big amount of work in this, which earlier would probably be done by designers who are creative in thought and doing it, and you need them. But what they get aided by is data, right? What we have is a trend identification model that on a real-time basis is scouring websites, influencer posts across the world to try and identify what are the latest trends. This is, again, the model that throws out on a weekly basis thousands of options. And step two is when the curation team, the designing team itself, kind of take that and say, these are the most important 10, 15 things that trends that we need for the next month. what works for India. We care about India as a brand and as a service. And then it moves into actual production, sourcing of it, getting it online, and then, of course, enabling the discovery system when you fire an app to say that what you saw last week is not what you see again this week, right? So, as much as this is about a fashion app, which is all about glamour, glitz, and looking good, in the back end of it is robust data platforms that enable this. Then the other part of trending is from a consumer perspective or a user perspective. All of you, when you want to see something trending, go to social media and do it. So we say, yes, you spot it on social media. We're going to help you buy it real time. So a feature that was developed is as you see something a celeb wearing, anybody wearing, right? There is a fashion week somewhere that's happening. You see your local celeb somewhere. Hell, you see that friend of yours wearing something, posting and posted it on Insta and you like it. You can screenshot it, send a DM, and automatically Myntra will respond and say, these are the equivalents that you can shop real time, right? Again, closing that loop to spotting the trend and actually kind of getting it. We actually did a marketing campaign around that some time back. And this is the video. It was called Spot It, Get It. And I'm going to hope that it plays or not. Is it linked? You're going to. The team is looking down the barrel of a 455 meeting. How do you get to the deck? So yeah, I think for us that was the campaign, and of course, when that campaign was made, we were hoping Archie's the movie would do better than it actually did. But you can't. There is only so much that you can predict. But that's kind of where we started, and I think for us this is important to be on trend for this cohort day in and day out, right? Very, very different from everything that the fashion world is used to, because fashion world is used to seasons, autumn, winter, spring, summer, 90 days, what happens in Milan Fashion Week. None of those hold good for Gen Z, right? And that's how we are kind of reimagining that piece of it. The last leg of this is, of course, building community. How do you build a robust community that delivers virality in terms of someone talking to another and saying, hey, check out Myntra Forward? That's important. So a few pieces there. So we have something called Campus Tribe, which is a program that we run, and we're going to scale it to about 500 colleges across the country, where people who sign up as ambassadors of Myntra Forward will get access, highlight, whatever, enhanced access and a lot of features, Delta features itself on Myntra, whether it's on the value leg or exclusivity leg itself. Second is a new piece called the referral program, which is anyone who's happy with it. The best way for us to get it is they're recommending a friend. And what we are kind of sweetening it is basically saying you invite your friend and you get $250 to buy your next piece of clothing. So these are two. And the third one that we're kind of just putting out and going live is what we call the Ultimate Glam Clan. It's a creator program. It is probably the biggest one for anyone who's a shopper in the country. And what we are kind of bringing together are 2, 3 of those drivers that we saw earlier. One is everyone wants a hustle. So we are creating a program where you can earn money. Second, Gen Z care about what each they see around themselves and their community. So it's going to be about not influencers, but real shoppers putting out content so everyone sees what they are used to around their own colleges, etc. And third is, yes, and you're putting it out basis what you have already purchased, and you're leaving a review of what you've purchased, right? So it takes three of those pieces in terms of what we looked at for Gen Z. So we're just rolling this out where everyone gets to become a creator. You don't need crazy number of followers. All you need to do is be able to make a video, take a picture, and put it up on our app, and we will ensure that there is a downstream that goes through that itself. Just going to play a quick video that kind of essays this.
This is the final movie goal for the BBC 2024 to packaging. Here's the people makeup immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Myntra Ultimate Brand Franchise. We're always become a brand and the winner is the journey from passion to reality is with the Myntra. Tapping your feet bears and clap on Myntra and share your visibility with your name to become an influencer is about to be. Today we have many market collection burning up to 25,000 brand discount offers Myntra creator festival. Let's get this one. I am only 500 followers. Yes, come on. It's a baby with a customer. All you have to do is get shop, snap, share, and review. If you got me out and I'm doing it, they all very big. These are for not couple. You have not a visit and then we've got the Myntra theater.
So, like, just as everyone's on social media, where we are kind of upping it a little bit, is sorry if you could just help me, is to kind of democratize that to say everyone can be a creator, everyone can earn money out of being a creator. And that's kind of where this came up. So, these were the three pieces. So, this is what we've kind of been doing over the last year or so. What has that enabled for us? One is we've gone from about 8 million Gen Z customers to 16 million Gen Z customers, and we are India's biggest Gen Z platform for fashion today. So that's kind of been the output. It is a little bit of a journey for us, and it will continue to be, because as I said, in the end of the day, there are 60 million Gen Z customers who are buying online. We have 16. There's a lot more to go. And if you scale that even more, there are 200 million Gen Z in the country today. How do you get all of them to be? So that's really the journey and the potential for us, and what we're looking for in the future. So that's what we've got. Happy to take any questions if you have any. Okay, couple of hands up. Do we have mics?
Should I stand up? Hello, sir. I'm
Hi.
Chavi. It seems like any idea or, possibly a Gen Z or a chat GPT could give for making marketing creatives, you've done it all. So
We're trying. We're trying.
the whole point of it is, what is that power that you have in your execution? Because executing such campaigns is not easy. And we have a lot of ideators in place, but what is that special thing which you've noticed out of your experience that is important for execution?
Got it. So two pieces that I'll tell you that I've seen in Myntra, which provide the delta. One is more cultural, which is we are an organization that always cherishes and promotes innovation, right? For us, that is important. We are in a business of fashion, and fashion changes day in and day out. We've recognized that, and it's not something we've done now. It's Myntra's from its existence. Myntra has always been about innovation, and that cultural piece within the org, that culture code enables all of these things. When you have that culture code, whether it's from a tech perspective, marketing perspective, sourcing perspective, you just want to try things. You don't care if they fail. And you understand, and the organization understands that if something fails, it's perfectly fine. You learn and build. because out of the 10 things you try, one works, you've got gold, right? All the things that I've spoken about are all things that we're trying, folks. I'm none of these, it's not like any of them is getting us to 200 million Gen Z already. It's a journey. We'll figure out and learn and keep doing it. But for us, it is just that culture code of innovation that exists that helps us do this more.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you for such an enriching session, sir. This is Vaishnavi Jha. So I would like to know, like, how does Myntra deal with the dynamic nature of the Gen Zs? Like a short while ago, you said it was a journey because the trends are ever changing and everybody wants to be a part of it.
Yep.
And at the same time, we want to be sustainable. We want to have long term. So how does Myntra, manages to tick all the boxes?
Yeah.
What kind of market research goes on the ground level? How are you bridging the gap as well? At the same time, also, we have to look at the Indian culture, the relevancy of the Indian culture when the westernization is, penetrating into our market. So yeah, that would be my question.
Cool. Okay, lots of things there. So let me try and tackle that, right? So one, I think from a cohort perspective, I don't think Gen Z necessarily think about Western versus Indian, right? It is global for them. Everything is global. So just conceptually, that's how everyone is, purely because you're spending 8 hours online, and online everything is democratized, right? You will see things real time, what's happening in New York as you will see it in Tiruchirappalli, right? That is the reality. So that part of it is okay. The more important part of it is how often trends change and how do you keep up with that. And that part of it from just a backend sourcing and modeling perspective is what is a new capability that almost, if I could call it, doesn't exist in India, but we are trying to learn it, right? Because you cannot do 90 days. You have to shrink that 90 days to 30 days at best, right? And if you really look at some of the global options, it's 15 days,
For it to be
right?
feasible.
Believe it or not, I'm going to give you an example, not a great sounding example, but the day Trump was shot, right? Within 12 hours of that, in China, there were T-shirts of Trump in that visual with his hand up saying fight. That's how fast they turned it around, right? So that fundamentally changes an industry which is used to some designer sitting in Milan thinking about it, putting it out there on one model, and then over the year it percolating around the world, right? It fundamentally changes that. And that back end of it, so one is using social media. If trends change on social media, your research is on social media, and it's not research as in humans doing it. We need data platforms that do it, and that's what we've built, right? So that's super important. And second, the physical infrastructure to say as soon as something is spotted, how do you get to everything from I need this textile, I need this fabric, I need this color to make it and design it, and kind of unblock your standard lead times in that. So that's a back-end sourcing that's quite awesome. I don't think India is there yet, but we are in the process of kind of doing that.
And so one more thought that came to me during the session is when we're talking about the students. So has Myntra been thinking about renting out clothes? I do understand it's not feasible as
Yes.
of yet.
So sorry, I know you spoke about sustainability, so let me address that.
Sure.
It is important. I spoke about it as a driver in the slide. I don't think anyone's figured out the right way to marry that with business models, right? As much about businesses and brands and as much as about all you Gen Z too, right? If I put out there a beautiful, organic, 100% local cotton sourced kurta for $1,000, and I offer you another one which looks exactly the same for 500, all of you will buy 500, right? Unfortunately. So the business model of sustainability needs to be cracked. Is it about renting, thrifting, reuse, resale, not only about organic and fabric, but about all these? I think it needs to be figured out, and it will get figured out because it is a super strong need from a customer perspective, right? The best case in point is electric cars, right? It's always existed as a better option someone had to crack it. There were many, many different options that happened, and then someone cracked it, and now it's a norm everywhere. Same thing will happen, I'm pretty sure. It's just about testing different models to figure out. We are also testing different ones in what we've put out, but I have not seen one today that has scaled well yet in the fashion world. We'll get there. That is completely work in progress.
Thank you for the conversation.
Good evening, sir. I'm
Good evening.
Darshan. So let's say I'm shopping on Myntra app and I logged into the forward section and I bought myself a nice shirt and I want a pajama or anything. But now all of a sudden I decide to buy, let's say, a designer sneaker. I have to go all the way back home. I have to change the stores to Lux, have to go search everything again and do everything again. Like how Tata has ensured to keep these as different, like Tata Click Shopping and Tata Click Luxury. So don't you think it's too much of a hassle for someone to
No,
shop like that?
How is it different? Like you have Tata, you have to go, if you wanted to go to your shoe, your designer shoe,
Tata-
you'll go to Tata Luxury. If
Or
you want to
luxury.
buy your dress, you will go to the regular Tata. How's this different?
Tata Click Luxury, I'm talking about not just about dress, sir. It's like about all the luxury products. Like if you want to, let's say any top brands, let's say I want to buy an Armani shoe, I have to like go back to Lux, I have to search for the shoe and then buy. I can't do it on forward. But then Tata Click, you don't find normal brands on Tata Click Luxury, but Tata Click probably you can find them. But then it's all normal brands. It's inclusive of normal Myntra as well as your forward or everything on Tata Click, but it's a generalized version.
Yep.
But then I have to go back and it's a lot of hassle in Myntra. What's your insights on that? Could throw some light.
Yeah, I mean, it is a choice, right? I could do a separate forward app and say everything Gen Z trending, keep it on the forward app. For everything else, come to Myntra. It's exactly the same choice as what Tata has done. They have chosen to do it as two separate apps. We are choosing to do it as two parts of the same app. That's just the choice we've made, right? If let's take the two options. You want to buy a designer shoe versus you want to buy a regular top. That's what you said, right? Regular top, you go to forward, designer shoe, you have to go to Myntra Lux. In the other option, for the designer shoe, you've got to go to Tata Click Luxury. For the top, you've got to go to Tata Click. It's technically the same, right? Except there is one which is two apps versus one. Those are calls. Which one is better? Honestly, it's a bit like quick commerce, right? There is Instamart, there's Swiggy and Instamart, which is on the same app. There is Blinkit and Zomato, which are separate apps. No one knows the answer to which is right or wrong at this point in time. But they're different models. So, right? So that's how it is. So honestly, I don't have an answer. There are different models being tried. The beauty of it is whichever is more convenient, thanks to technology, you can make that change like this. That's the point. That's the easy part of it. Yes, I see hands
Yes,
up. Okay.
It was a great session. I just had one question. So in today's trending market sphere, which is mostly Instagram, you see a lot of e-commerce is being decentralized now through these online stores which exist on Instagram. So in this particular sphere, how does Myntra, which is which has had a long standing so far, how does it certainly be relevant amongst the Gen Zers and with the upcoming Gen Alpha as well? Like that was something I had.
Okay. Nuanced question. So everything that's happened D2C has kind of taken, I'm going to talk about fashion, but as with anyone else, a little bit by surprise, right? Because what it has done is broken down the traditional walls of you need to go to a big retailer, be a part of it, get listed there, and then you can reach your customer. This has kind of made you reach the customer directly. So for us, honestly, you definitely saw a lot more interest, and not just Gen Z, even millennials, on everything D2C. But two things you kind of realized fast, as did the D2C brands. A lot of people use the Instagram / the D2C.com to explore and understand the brand and kind of buy into the brand. They may even make their first purchase on that. However, what that individual small brand does not have is the luxury of customer service that something like Myntra offers, right? It is, you will not get your delivery in 2 days in most D2Cs. It will take 7 days. The China ones take 15 days. Returns over there, even more crazier. Exchanges, refunds, much more, right? So what you've realized is that for most people, the first part of exploration tends to happen on the .com. Repeats actually happen on a Myntra. So that's why all the .coms that you will talk about, if you name everything from a Soul Store to a Bewakoof to anything else, .nk, etc., are all listed also on Myntra, right? So that's kind of how we found our happy place between the two. But absolutely, I think D2Cs have come and kind of changed the nature of what's happening in India from a retail perspective overall, and definitely fashion.
Hello, sir. I'm Deep. So I wanted to ask that since this segment has very less brand loyalty, because of the fact that you also mentioned that they prefer content over anything else. So how do firms like Myntra, from a marketing perspective, work on content that is basically able to lock in this segment for a longer period of time?
Yeah. No, so I think it's twofold, right? And I was in a session somewhere where another speaker said an interesting line. And what he said was, if a brand is loyal to Gen Z will be loyal to that brand, right? If you are not providing what the Gen Z needs, they will not be loyal. Otherwise, they will. The number one brand for Gen Zs globally is Nike, which is as much a millennial brand as it gets. But Nike has also managed to talk to Gen Z and provide them what they need. So they are giving them that loyalty, right? I would argue the same thing for a Netflix, right? Netflix started with millennials, but today, if you ask Gen Z, they would all definitely be there. At some points in time, you will see changes happening. Facebook required an Instagram, right? The day all your uncles and aunts come on Instagram, you will move to the next one, right? So that is the nature of it. But what's key is to be Gen Z, the kind of, if it is content, it's content, but if it's a service, it's a service. Provide them what they're looking for, and that loyalty you will get that back. I don't think that is a question. It is much harder to keep their loyalty, yes, but that's where you need to relook at the basic structures of how you build brands and businesses.
Right. So you mentioned how Myntra has advantages over the smaller brands, right? Which brings me to something that Myntra doesn't do. So these brands like Jaywalking, Blue Orange, Snitch, they came out of nowhere and they generate a lot of traction now.
Yes.
My question is why would a marketplace like Myntra, which has so much resources, so much data about how consumers interact with certain fashion trends, why do they not invest and market private labels? Like the only Myntra private label I've ever heard of is probably Roadster, but even that is not marketed well. So why do y'all not focus on private labels when y'all have the kind of resources to do so?
Because we are a marketplace.
I understand, but private labels have their own set of.
We can't. I mean, technically, we are a marketplace. A marketplace cannot have. You cannot be favoring
So
your
it's a
own
CCI
brand.
issue.
It is a legal issue. When you're a marketplace, you're equal and access to anything and everyone. Yeah, that's why. So you're a marketplace. That's all. I care as much about Snitch doing well on my platform as I would for anybody else. That's why. That's point number one. Your second question is why can't we have private labels more? There are private labels. Can we promote them more than anyone else? That I can't do, right? Just as I don't promote Snitch, I will not promote a Roadster. Or if I promote, I will promote both of them equally. So that's I'm a marketplace. Do we have private labels across most things? We do actually, right? So Roadster is an example. HRX is another example. On the women's side, we have Sassafras. That's another example. So we have examples of that. Yeah. Yeah, you do realize the people with the power are the guys with the mics. Yeah.
Like you hit on the micro influencers already, and also there are virtual try-ons which have entered the market, also in some of the fashion segment as well. And there is also about sustainability. There are emerging trends in carbon. which is already initiated by National in their R&D. So I wanted to know what are the emerging trends that you think of? You're already so advanced with AI, like Gen Z or even beyond Gen Z. What do you think will be the new trends down like 10 years or maybe, yes, I know it changes.
Stop. Yeah.
I know this is sort of related to the operations part of it, but it made me curious. You said that China takes 15 days, and you in India it's from 90 days it has reduced to 30 days to deliver. Like we see a product and then it comes to us immediately. So what is the operation part of it, like behind it? How do you set up? How do you partner with people so that you get it? So that's
Cool. So emerging trends, if you ask me, there would be a couple of them that I think are important. One is, of course, everything related to sustainability. That part, as we've addressed, right? That is where is going to be important. The second part to me is value engineering, because in the reality is that everything is required. For example, in the US, it's $10 is the price point. In India, you could argue it's $4.99, which is the price point that's important. How do you value engineer high trend, high fashion for such a cost? Those two are probably going to be two important things that we've not cracked so far, right? That needs to get cracked, and those are probably two things that I think are important. The third one, at some point, which I think will be a circle of life that happens, is uh, to someone's earlier point, we will figure out what is India's version of fashion for Gen Z. Right now, it is democratic, which is I want everything around the world. I will make my choice. I honestly believe that with the level of inclusivity that Gen Z care about, the amount of rich textile history that our country has will actually get better, right? Access to those will open up. You will see a lot more of those. So those would probably be three things that I foresee happening on that front. On your backend sourcing point of view, it is about everything that, loosely speaking, AI does so well, which is just predictive models. Because as you see a trend, what do you need to have already done? You need to have already bought your fabric. You need to have already got your colors. You need to have already have a bunch of designs and templates ready. And as soon as you see a trend, you can get all these going. All of these have huge capital expenditure requirements, right? And so you don't have, maybe some people have the money to sit on all these things. Let's assume most brands don't. What you need is predictive models that say that irrespective of as the trend goes, I will have the right levels of supplies of all these to make sure that I can execute real time to that, right? That's what China does amazingly well. And we've got to figure out our model of it, because there is, even in that, a sustainability issue that we need to figure out, right? Because there could be a lot more waste than there is today. So how do you kind of balance that out versus costs and optimization? So that's how it needs to be done. So for all of you folks who are not yet steeped into whatever kind of student you are, into everything that data can help you with, everything data, everything AI, everything predictive is the future on all businesses. So steep yourself more into that. I don't know if that answers your question. Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi.
So, myself Soumya. So, sir, as we can see that you have a very unique dressing style. So, is it something that you do intentionally to resonate with your brand, or is it just a part of your lifestyle?
Okay. No, so this vaguely sounds like the question of what is your fashion quotient or whatever. So what I normally like wearing is anything which is ethnic. That's what I kind of veer towards more and more, always have. Earlier, that used to be available only in kurtas and or bandgalas and things like that. The beauty of a lot of D2Cs is they take all our beautifulness of ethnic, whether it is ikat or otherwise, and present it in new formats. And this is one of those D2C brands. And that's where it is. That's it. Nothing more than that. All my friends, when I tell them I work with Myntra, they question me given my fashion sense. So Yeah, I don't claim to be.
And also another question. So, sir, being a person who has grown into a family where brands, like we were never into brands. So now as a marketing student, what can I do to increase my awareness regarding brands? How can I increase my knowledge?
Sorry, help me understand your question. As a student, you want to learn more about what?
Marketing, like other brands that are existing. So how can I increase my knowledge about brands?
Okay. So, if there is something that is most easily accessible today is any data information that exists. I'm hoping every single one of you have ChatGPT on your phones today. And all you have to do is ask that question and you will get answers to. I have used ChatGPT for everything from 2024, what should be Myntra's marketing strategy, to we are redefining the purpose statement of Myntra, what should it be, as a bouncing board. Absolutely. And so you will, and that's a starting point, right? And you should do it because a lot of the work gets done automatically. Then you use your subjective, whatever you want to call it, instinct, intellect, EQ, IQ to kind of make it better. But information is available. So I don't think that should be very difficult for any of you to gather. The second one is, to steep yourselves. There is knowledge and there is what you read and there is what you do. So I would suggest to everyone who is whatever stage of student, I don't know what stage of students you guys are, but go out there and get practical experience, right? Do internships, start up on your own, figure life out, become a creator and put out videos, right? You will understand how easy or tough that world is. And I can tell you it's a tough world, right? We all see these creators who put up these videos and we think, oh, it's so cool to get 200,000 followers. We have seen them on a day-to-day basis. And I can tell you their life from morning till night is one person standing in front of them with a camera. And that's what they have to go through. When we call them we have something called Myntra Creator Fest. Every year with the top 300 creators of the country, kind of bring them on, celebrate the year with them. And the first time we did it, we got requests saying, can we bring our plus ones? And we're thinking, okay, it's a party. Everyone wants to bring a plus one. Why not? The plus one everywhere was a photographer, videographer, right? Because they need to put out that content. So, but you learn it only when you do it. So that's the point. So definitely, I would urge everyone. Those were definitely not avenues when I was in B school long back, but all of you should definitely try that out. Yeah, absolutely.
So, in the interest of time, we'll take one last question.
Going beyond customer acquisition, I would want to ask you related to cancels and returns. What percentage of your, okay, even if you don't want to quote that number or the percentage, how does Myntra have a dark store? All the cancels that come back or the returns that come back, do you have a dark store where, like how Amazon does, we get at a second lower price? All the return products are sold at a dark store at a lesser price.
Oh, no. We
Okay.
return it back to source.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then there would be a lot of capex, right? Let's say it's coming from Surat to Bangalore.
Yes.
You've already spent so much. So how do you incur the loss of the expense that happens in that stage?
Yep. That's why, it's taken us a while to get profitable. I don't know how many of you track levels of profitability of everything which is consumer tech. We publicly announced profitability about 6 months ago. But that's kind of been the journey because many of these things from a returns perspective, etc., do eat into your operating margins a lot. So you got to find that balance. But it's also about the stage of evolution within a country, right? When you want people to move from offline, where I can see, feel, try, versus just look at a picture and buy. I can wait for 25 years for that to happen. In India, no one's chosen to do that. Everyone's wanted to make that change happen in 5 years. And that can only happen when you say, buy two, figure out which fits, give us the other one back, right? And that is what has helped ecom get to the kind of penetration levels that it has in this country. So that's been a cost of building the category in the country. But now you see a lot more of that tapering out. People understand more brands, more sizes, what works for them. and therefore the level of returns over a period of time will start declining. So that's that in a nutshell is what will happen. But it's important when you're creating a new category, whether it's lower pricing, whether it is better benefits like returns, etc., are things that you need to do to create the country. And interestingly, e-com in this country has made that choice, which is why we are where we are. Not many countries have the kind of consumer tech and digital touch that India has, right? Even quick commerce. Um, when I was in Kupang in South Korea, we tried to launch that in Taiwan and Japan. It just didn't take off. Around the world, in most countries, it's not. But in our country, we have three big players that are doing amazingly well. So a lot of that has to do with getting the larger, all of us used to a new way of buying from a retail perspective, and that's happened. So yeah, there are those trade-offs. You learn to do the financial management in the right way post that. But those are choices we've made. Returns is an important part of everything fashion. Yeah. Only if he allows it. Okay. So we do all kinds of creators. So let me break down the numbers loosely that I'm aware of. I think our country has about 10 million users on social media or on Instagram who have more than 1,000 followers. There are probably, I think, 1 million who are between 100,000 to a million. And then beyond a million, it's a handful, right? Loosely speaking, those are your three categories, right? Naturally, as the creator system in the country worked, everyone worked with the biggies, right? You worked with the biggies till they all became so expensive. They cost as much as a Bollywood star does. And you all say, thank you very much. And then you move on. But what we've realized is also how all of us as followers have been. There was a time when all of us would follow a Bollywood star to do something. Then we all looked at a Kusha Kapila equivalent to do something. Now you look at someone who you really know in your local community and say, I want to do that, right? So that's been, you followed the audience, and that's what brands do. Brands will follow the audience. So today what we want to do is get to everyone from probably 10,000 to 100,000 and get them on board. So the UGC creator system is one such example. There are even more affiliate options that are opening up in the country, which is, there are agencies where you go up and say, I have 1,000 followers. If I put up content for, say, a Myntra, and if one of the followers clicks on that link and buys, I get commission, right? So all these models will democratize the creator system in the country. If this doesn't happen, the creator system in the country will actually die. It's only the top end who will continue to make money, a bit like Bollywood. The rest will not. But with these different new models coming in, I think creator system in the country will just balloon up much, much more. Yeah, I'm guessing that's. Thank you, folks. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an insightful session. I'm really excited to see now how fashion plays out in Gen Z world. Like being a millennial, I learned a lot of new things today. Uh, Now, as a token of our gratitude, I would request our President Shubham Jagtap to felicitate sir with a small token of appreciation. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing Vista with your presence.